Hello everybody, this is my final project and end of the semester project for my class of music. I'm Diego Roberto and I'm going to talk about the romantic period between the 1820s and the 1900s and how it started to change a lot of things during this period. Okay, to start, I'm going to give you a little bit of historical background. The Romantic period, as mentioned before, was between the 18th and 19th century. And during that time, a lot of historical issues that we know arise, such as the Civil War back in 1861 till 1865, and of course the famous Industrial Revolution that developed during that time. But what is Romanticism? Well, Romanticism is a movement that is known to begin in Europe during the 19th century to give a response to the Industrial Revolution for the false illusions and of the Enlightenment values of reason. The main characteristics from this period was freedom, imagination, individual expression, as well as irrationality. It also characterizes more because in the Romanticism it was known to embrace all the artistic angles, such as the literature, painting, music, architecture, criticism, and history. Its influence was all over Europe, and it was common to see the middle class assist to some concerts as well as being able to compose certain types of music. In this time was it was actually okay for the middle class to do this type of stuff, but in the previous periods it was only a privilege for those in the royalty. Even though the neoclassicism and the romanticism were created from certain movements of similar reasons, the difference between these two periods it's actually big. Like for example, in the neoclassicism, the characteristic was more for structure, restraint, and objectivity, and it was inspired from the classical period. Their themes that this one had was more like Greek and Roman themes, and the music or tones used during this time was a more calm and rational tone. But in the Romanticism, the characteristics, as previous explained, the characteristics were more focused in the emotion and imagination of the composer. The inspiration for this type of music was from the medieval and Baroque periods. The themes around this time was the nature and the pastoral life. The tones for this one was more about the spontaneous and moody. Uh, in the Romanticism, are different forms of music, such as songs that is divided between the lied or lieder, that is in plural, songs that are songs that in German that was common for the Romantic period, and piano. And also the parlor songs, that are the ones that are made from home and in occasions performed in concerts. These type of songs became really popular between the English countries such as the Great Britain, Canada, and the United States. We also have the orchestra. And this is quite interesting because when the orchestra manifested or was created, it was, let's say, divided in different societies. So each society, let's say, play like a different tone or a different type of romanticism music. And last but not least, the last form of music from this time was the opera. And opera, let's say, it's a weird type of music. Not weird, but it was more diverse because depending on the country, such as Italy or Germany or other countries, uh, it's the way that it's going to play out. Uh, there exist different songs composer like Franz Schubert that composed the Symphony Number 9 in C major back in 1828, and Robert Schumann that composed the Carnival Op. 9 back in 1835. These two composers are known for writing light songs, while Stephen Foster, who wrote Oh Susanna back in 1848, is known to write songs in parlor. The orchestra societies, like I said, when this type of music came out, it divided in societies. These are some of the more popular, so to say, that there are. Mm. Like London Philharmonic, uh, was in there performed Gabriel Oboe de Mission, who composed the Ennio Morricone. Well, it's opposite. Ennio Morricone performed the Gabriel's Oboe de Mission back in 1986. London Philharmonic was created in 1842. The Vienna Philharmonic was created also in 1842, and it was composer Otto Nicolai in 1848 and performed the Wolfgang Amadeus by Mozart. And last, we have the New York Philharmonic that was created in 1813, and one of the composers was Luciano Pavarotti, who performed the Nessun Dorma. Opera composers. As I said, each country has its different way to represent opera or to compose it. Let's take, for example, Italy. In Italy, opera became like an almost national music. This meaning that everyone can hear it, or it was not a privilege for anybody. It was so popular in Italy that it didn't have that necessity. The one important composer from the Italy country was Giacchino Rossini, who composed The Barber of Seville in 1816. Then when opera reached France, a new style was created, named the Grand Opera, and that was sung throughout a big production, and one of their main composers was Georges Bizet, who wrote Carmen back in 1875. And for last but not least, Germany. In In Germany, it was common to have plots done from the medieval history, legend, or fairy tale. Supernatural events etc., are intertwined with the fate of the human protagonist. One of the main German composers was Stephen Foster, who wrote once again O Susanna in 1848. To end this presentation, I wanted to give my personal opinion of this time of music, because for me, I think this was like a big step for music, because this was the time where all the people could go out or compose different songs, and for that reason, for me, I see it like a base for future songs. Thank you a lot for your attention. These, of course, weren't my slides. It's the Lightsgo were the one who helped me creating this presentation or give me the background. And the images was posted by myself. These are some of their. And here are some reference for the different websites I got my information, different uh, places. It's all here. You can. I will leave it here for a minute or so, or hold it pause so you can see it.